what was it? Oh, the trend for a while in the early 2000s, every single game was World War II,
Oh God.
and that died.
That
And
that bummed me out
even
so hard, man.
that's how Call of Duty started. It was a World
Even
War II game, and the
right.
fourth one hit, and it turned into this modern warfare thing, which is
Yeah.
now what every game is as well. And
But
now it's starting to go back, but I think they're what was Battlefield One was World War One.
right.
That's a series I've never understood.
Yeah, I mean, I was so bummed out by that whole. I mean, this is not about Left 4 Dead, right? But the whole trend in the 2000s was to go towards these war tactical shooters, like beginning with Counter Strike and then the Call of Duty and the Medal of Honor and all these fucking games, and it was like a complete abandonment of the arena shooter kind of legacy of the late 90s. And the game industry went in that direction for a lot of years. Even Halo is regarded by a lot of people as being arcadey when the mechanics are about as slow as it can get. Um,
Yeah, like
and
those two.
go ahead.
Go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say that as weird as it is to say, I think Overwatch is the game that kind of put arena style shooters back on people's radars. Uh, it's not really regarded as an arena shooter because it's not about 1v1 deathmatch, which I think is really okay. I have thoughts about that too separately, but um, anyway, I I feel like I haven't been interested in what they're doing with shooters for a long time, right up until Overwatch came out, and then I started feeling interested again.
So I wish I could. Playing this game, there wasn't one time where I said I can't see. I I always understood what was happening on my screen, and maybe that's because I played it for a long time 10 years ago, and so I remember everything
Right.
that happened.
So this is
But when
a
I play,
this is
go ahead.
regarding the complaint you had when we were playing PlanetSide, or was it PlanetSide you were playing? You had this complaint. Yeah, you were like
Yeah.
you didn't know what you were
Well,
seeing. Like when enemies popped up on the screen, you couldn't distinguish them.
that's
And you said
yeah.
it was a
Leading into
general
over,
complaint for more modern games.
that's the problem I have with Overwatch is I was really interested in the idea of it because, like you said, it's more in line with Team Fortress Classic, which is the game to me. I
Yeah,
want that, but
but not
modern.
that.
But
Yeah,
I want that, but I want it new. But I also want. I mean, what I want is basically impossible. It's not going to happen because it was just an era of my life where it was transformative and amazing. And it's like I'm always going to think Mario 64 is the best Mario because it was the first 3D, and I was there when it happened, and
yep.
the change was amazing.
Same for
So
me
no
with
matter
Ocarina
how
of Time.
amazing, yeah, no matter
Nothing
how
stands a
amazing,
chance. Go ahead.
that's tricky though because now that you say that, I think Breath of the Wild blows every other Zelda game out of the water.
Yep, I get that.
But
Although I
when
finished
it comes to
Ocarina
Mario,
twice, but I still haven't finished Breath. And Breath is a game you can finish whenever you want. That's just me though.
technically,
Technically.
technically, there's so much shit. There's not a linear path in that game. But anyway, back to what I was talking about. I wanted to get into Overwatch. I gave it a really short chance because I didn't want to pay money for a game that I wasn't going to play. So it was just the demo time. But I just there's so much visual confusion going on the screen. Colors everywhere, crazy shit happening, dragons flying out of walls and killing me, and the dragon flying out of the wall and killing me. I nope, uninstall, done. And that's where what I call it was Q in that game by default, so I called it press Q to win. That's where that shit started up, as far as I'm aware.
Well, it wasn't the first game to do ultimates, but it was definitely the game that I feel like really popularized that idea. I mean, everyone's been copying Overwatch for the last few years.
Right. I guess Destiny did it first. What year was Overwatch?
I guess. Uh,
2016?
I should know
15?
this. Um, I'm pretty sure it was 2016. I mean, excuse me. The beta and release were in 2016, but it was some people that were in on the closed beta and an early alpha were playing it in 2015, I think.
Oh, and that's also my first experience with automated matchmaking. Left 4 Dead kind of did it, but it set up a lobby first, and you had a chance to get to know the people you were about to play with a little bit and
Uh-huh.
decide what map you were going to play and all that. But Overwatch, unlike Quake Champions, they found a way to eliminate downtime for maximum playtime. So it's just this matchmaking system that, if I remember correctly, it just throws you in. You're with 5 other people. Is that right? For 6 people per team.
I think that's where the quick play format is, but I haven't touched it in 2 years, so don't really know.
Just the map is automatic from what I can remember. Everyone you're playing with is automatic.
Yep.
You don't have a chance to talk to them before the game starts. You don't have a chance to plan anything from what I remember. And again, my time playing was really brief, so I could be completely wrong.
Yeah.
But I hated it. I hated the matchmaking system, and especially because you're in here and no one is really talking. It's just about do as well as you can, and you don't have the time to talk anyways because every game seems.
Yeah. There is a short period before the match starts in Overwatch, but it's just enough to like say hi and maybe figure out who's gonna play what, you know.
Right.
Um,
And then that. Oh, another thing I thought of earlier today about TFC
Yeah.
that no game does anymore.
What's that?
When you die, your camera's just sideways on the ground, and then you can look around and see what happened. Every game now immediately switches you to the third-person mode, or follows the person who kills you, and I feel like it fucks things up by doing that. Because in
Right.
TFC, when I died, I could look around and assess the area, because I'm gonna come back to it, and I'll have a better idea of what to do the next time I arrive.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, from a tactical perspective, honestly, I don't have much of an opinion about that myself, but I get what you're saying.
It also made it so that, like, I die, and then 1 second later I click and respawn. There's no waiting at all.
Yeah, that was something about TFC I liked, is it you were always moving, right? There was never a
Mm-hmm.
period where you were just sitting and staring at a screen waiting for shit to happen. And I think games like Overwatch and others that have those death spectator views are there partly because there is a wait, you know.
Yeah.
Counter-Strike was the original game that I had to complain about, you know. But boy, did I back the wrong horse. It feels like that. Counter-Strike is still cranking hard in 2019. It's really, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me because the elements of that game are really strong, but it's not to my taste. Um,
It's a case of lowest common denominator to me, because there's so much. I know the people at the top really know what they're doing. What a lot of that game is just randomness. So you can be Joe Nobody and join into a server and run over and fire your gun, and then suddenly you shoot 4 people in the head in a row, and you're the champion of the round.
well, I think any good game has some randomness in it because it makes things interesting. But yeah, Counter-Strike it heavily punishes new players, right? Because there's the waiting period and because the time to kill is so short.
Right.
And because the skill curve to learn how to shoot, how to position, what guns to use, it's a real hill to climb. It's very rewarding to experienced players and very punishing for new ones. But a lot of games are like that, you know.
Was there anything random in TFC at all? I
Oh
can't think of
gosh,
anything that would
let's
not
think.
have been a player input.
I guess the spawn that you respawn in is a bit of randomness, right?
That's true.
Certain
Yeah,
maps that
that
can
would
be
be random.
important, like open fire if you respawn battlements or flag, that can make a big difference if you're playing D.
Yeah.
Um,
But like even bag respawn times were always on a timer. It was never random.
yeah, unless there were specific map elements, but I'm honestly struggling to think of any. But you know, it's funny. One of the things I've thought about with TFC is how much of it is the way it was because they didn't know any better and they just how much of it is stumbling into a design we loved, and how much of it is done deliberately. Um, there's this.
I would.
Go
A
ahead.
lot of it stumbling because they hated it.
Yeah, and when you look at TF2, it's pretty obvious that whatever TFC
They
was, it was not something they were at all committed to.
no, they stated that when they looked back at TFC, they were like, "This isn't fun." So TF2 was what they wanted to do originally.
God, God, I mean, you and I are so biased, but we share this burden of grief. I remember when
Yeah.
TF2 came out. Do you remember like the whole community holding its breath? You know what else I remember too is Fortress Forever coming out like on a Friday and TF2 coming out on like a Sunday or a Monday. And Fortress Forever had like 2 or 3 days, like one weekend of just being full and full of promise. And then TF2 dropped, and A, it sucked, and B, everyone played it. Ah,
Yep. Well, it was so much more. I mean, if you had the choice between Fortress Forever and Team Fortress 2, I picked Team Fortress 2 because
what's your beef with
as
Fortress
much as
Forever?
it was not polished on release, that game. I haven't played it since whatever how many patches they've had. I think I only played it on release day. But oh my god, I fucking hated it so much. It
Your
felt
beef
awful.
is that it wasn't polished? Like, so, but by feel awful, you mean there were a lot of bugs, or like there was just problems with the
Well,
fundamental gameplay?
no, just in comparison to AAA Team Fortress 2 game that looked like you were playing a Pixar cartoon, that that compared to Fortress Forever, it just felt and looked far superior
That seems
to
like
what
a
Fortress
really
Forever had to
silly
offer.
complaint to my ears, given that none of us played TFC because it looked good. We all played it because it felt and played right. And
I'm
what
not
I
putting into
remember,
words what I want to say.
from what I remember,
Is
Fortress Forever played pretty tight when it was released.
I remember I think
It was
I
definitely different.
wanted
Go ahead.
I just wanted TFC on Source, and
Yeah,
Fortress
well,
Forever did not feel like that, and so I was just like, "Why? Fuck this!
I want to
This
try to,
sucks."
but I mean, it's like taking a house apart brick by brick and trying to put it together so it looks and smells the exact same. Like you can take the same thing and put it back together. It's never going to be the same thing twice, especially if you use a
Right.
completely different engine. I was honestly surprised when they made it how faithful was to TFC. They didn't really try to make any changes other than to try to make grenades less important.
Yeah, I didn't give it much of a chance. I just didn't feel it very much. TF2 dropped, and I didn't hate TF2 right away. I recognized that it felt really different, but I think TDA, we played a bunch of matches for a while, and since we were so good at TFC, we were just dominating everyone in TF2.
Sure.
And I think that was the part that kept me interested in it for a bit. But after 2 months of not losing, we basically all just stopped playing, I think.
Yeah, when there's no challenge, it's like, what's the point? No rivalry, no anything like that. Um,
And then
you
the
know,
random elements,
it's
terrible.
I'm really interested in your perspective on these games because I feel like I had a very strong reaction to both games when they came out, and I was actually I felt really good about Fortress Forever. I was really bullish on it. I liked the way that bunny hopping felt. I liked the way that the weapons felt. I liked the way that rocket jumping and conking felt. Momentum gain felt right, um, and I was just I'm not sure if shocked is the right word, but that's what I have at hand. I was shocked that it completely died the day TF2 came out because TF2 felt like a complete betrayal. Um, this narrow FOV having no bunny hopping, um,
Yeah,
no concussion grenades, a medic class that literally has a healing gun.
which
Ah,
became the norm in every game after.
I cannot believe like it was so sad to me. You watch these in-house guys playing open fire, and even though they're better than players were 10, 15 years ago, it's basically the same shit, and it is so fast. It is blazing.
Yeah,
The first game I played back, I hit I hit this really tight conked air shot on a scout leaving the open fire flag room. And
I saw
everyone
that.
everyone went, oh, and it was so crisp, and
It still felt amazing, didn't it?
it's still TFC has never felt anything but amazing. Something about that gold source engine that feels so crisp.
Yep. It's
But
just super responsive. There's no sluggish feeling. Even when you play with 110 ping or something like that,
yeah,
you don't notice it.
well, it was made when dial-up was very common and broadband was rare. So maybe they
That's something that
some of the
confuses
netcode.
me
What's that?
about online gaming now. Well, so I guess it's because there's just more information to send as the games get more complex. But TFC, we were playing 20 years ago on broadband, and some places I had a pipe that went directly from Atlanta to Texas. So if a server was in Texas, I had like 20 ping,
Jesus.
and I mean pretty much all over the country, my ping was always 50, 60. And here we are 20 years later, and I feel like it is worse. I would
Yeah.
expect my ping to be like 2 now, but
Well,
that's not the case.
the trick is that network infrastructure and broadband hasn't actually improved in the U.S. in a lot amount of time. I don't really think. I don't know a lot about this topic personally, but little I do know has indicated to me that you know there are many countries that have better, faster broadband than the U.S. We're really lagging behind, and it's because our telecoms are giant corporations that care about
Don't have to
money,
do shit.
not about tech. And I think they were drag kicking and screaming into the broadband era.
Right.
But
Yep.
one of the things that really differentiates newer network-based games, especially shooters, from older ones, is that now all all the action is calculated on the client side. I don't know if you noticed this when you were playing like Destiny, but if your crosshair lines up with someone and you shoot him, and on your screen you hit them, you will hit them. Um, same thing same thing with like a projectile, like a rocket. Um, in TFC times, when you pressed the shoot rocket button, your game client went, whoa, let's check with the server first, right?
Yeah.
But now,
I
modern
greatly
days,
prefer that.
shooters are programmed to feel crisp. So what it does is it lets you on the client side. It biases the kind of conflict resolution of where damage came from first to the client side. And so you'll see like a lot in games like Planet Side, where you'll kill trade with someone because according to each of your clients, you shot the other guy before he shot you. And their server's like, we're going to let everybody win. We're not going to decide.
Right. There was whatever that song thing you sent me earlier. I could see that happening. There was a point where I killed a guy with my scepter thingy, and after I kill him, he shoots me with his shotgun, and I die.
Yep.
And that's impossible.
More possible than you would think, evidently.
That's how Quake Champions works, and as a first-person shooter arena game, it sucks.
That seems to be the best practice at this point. And it's good because it gives a better experience to people with shitty pings. That's the
Yeah,
reason.
I remember Quake 3. I had to play on dial-up at my dad's house because I didn't have a good enough video card at home, and it, every time I fired the gun, it would take like 2 seconds for the bullet to leave the gun, and I thought that sucks. But once you had broadband, it was a lot better, and I greatly prefer server side to client side.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I have much of an opinion about that, but it is different. I don't know, man.
That's
Like
the number
I
one thing
wanted
I
to.
noticed in Quake Champions is every time I died, I went back 2 feet, and I'm like, so this means that I'm never actually where I think I am in the game, and what I'm seeing is never actually what is happening.
Yeah,
Because
it's
Quake Champions doesn't do what Destiny does. It doesn't let everyone win. It lets the signal that it gets first win.
yeah, which gives you the advantage if you have a fast ping.
Right.
It's just different. Honestly, I don't know if I have much an opinion about it, but what I do have an opinion about, something you were saying earlier and kind of moved on from, but I wonder if we could come back to it, is you were talking about matchmaking. This is something I've actually
Uh-huh.
thought a lot about. especially in kind of trying to understand what it was that made TFC a different kind of game compared to modern games, especially games like thing closest to TFC that I've sunk hours into in the modern era of gaming is Overwatch. Um, I played a lot in beta, and during beta, I thought it was really fun. And I think in hindsight, it's mainly because the beta community was about the size of a gaming community that I like. It was a lot smaller. Um, when it went retail, Overwatch got too big, and I don't know, something about it really changed in retail. But at that point, matchmaking was new to me, and it was nice being able to consistently get into matches where you're ranked against people that you are equal skill level against. But it has this quality of making every single time you play like this high stakes kind of thing where the people that you play with um, aren't really like they're not the feeling that you get when you're queuing up, match after match into a matchmaking system is that the people that you play with are potential risks. Like they're there to possibly screw you up and prevent you from getting the rewards you deserve because you performed a certain way.
Hmm.
And you feel that way because when they're doing well, it's kind of invisible to you. It's like, oh, this is the way it should be. I won because I'm a good player. And then when you lose, oh, you lost because your team let you down. And because you're just seeing these people 1 second and they're gone the next, there's no incentive to look at it any further. And it creates this gameplay loop where you kind of dehumanize people and you feel like shit. And I've experienced that at Destiny matchmaking. I experienced it with Warframe matchmaking, and I get to a point where whenever I get into a game where it's like, oh, matchmake into a mode, I kind of shudder and try to avoid it. Uh, and it makes me think of TFC where we had to play with public servers, and if you wanted to play competitively, you had to organize a scrimmage or a pickup or sign up for a league, and you had all these extra hoops to jump through that required you to talk to people and connect with them, and you end up treating your people you play with more like people and having an excuse to see them more often. It's just such a different kind of loop.
Yeah, a lot of what you played Apex Legends really briefly, didn't you?
Yeah, I played it for a few days, like a weekend.
I mean, as I think to the okay, so I have 4 examples of matchmaking games. We got Overwatch, Apex Legends, um, Left 4
PUBG.
Dead, and Quake Champions.
Okay.
PUBG could be the 5th one. That kind of fits in more with Left 4 Dead.
Yeah.
So Overwatch, Apex, and what the hell was the 3rd one I had? Quake Champions. Their matchmaking, their user interfaces, and the music they have going, they make it seem like, oh shit, it's fucking go time.
Yeah,
This is going to be
Apex
a
was
big
great
deal.
about that.
Yeah, but so it gets you pumped up, and that might be part of what removes. I mean, I don't remember what it is. I don't think I played Warframe matchmaking, but it's that could be mentally preparing you for the no time to talk about this shit. I'm here to win. Whereas with Left 4 Dead, there's matchmaking, but it's like it usually throws you in a game in progress, or there's just you create a lobby and you wait for people to filter in, and while you're waiting for people, you talk to each other. And then PUBG it just puts everyone into one area while you're waiting for players to gather,
Sure.
and then all of a sudden you're in the airplane and you make the drop, and there's no fancy music or polished interface or crazy graphics or anything like that before that. And those are there to set a mood. Part of what made me like Apex Legends was all that shit at the start. It was cool. You got when you jump out of that, first your character selection screen is the best character selection screen I've ever seen in a game. They got that music going in the background, and you have a timer to pick your character, and then you pick them, and you get this big booming sound effect and this little animation they do, and that's just awesome as shit. Then you're in the plane, and you jump, and then this like big booming orchestral, oh shit, some important things happening, music is going on during the entire jet drop. And then you arrive wherever you are, and all fades away and it's just silence and 20 minutes of finding weapons, and that's where the game loses me.
Okay, so what's the big deal about it? So the presentation for Apex matchmaking is good. I agree with you. It's actually probably the best I've seen too. Neither of us play this game. So what how do you feel that figures into the matchmaking experience?
What I'm saying is Overwatch, Apex, and whatever the hell that third example I had was. Do you remember?
Quake?
Quake Champions. They have an interface and an experience set up to make it seem like a big deal that a match is about to happen. Left 4 Dead and PUBG are just like match, and I
So
think that it's calm going into Left 4 Dead and PUBG, and I think calmness results more in just like, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Oh, you look forward to doing this? Blah blah blah. Whereas the other three, they're a big exciting thing that puts the focus on shit's about to go down. Got to pay attention. No time to socialize.
so you think that the social component is informed by the presentation? That's the point you're trying to make.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I appreciate the presentation, like responding to what you said. I appreciate the presentation too, but I kind of feel like it doesn't matter how it's wrapped. Being matched into a game with strangers who are gone at the end of the match is not really a social thing. It's kind of parasocial in a way. It tricks you into feeling like you're socializing, but you're actually not. It's like being on the bus next to somebody. Yeah, you see them, but you're not really connecting with them.
Yeah, I still think it sucks either way. I'm just saying I think the games that put this big emphasis on the match's beginning with graphics and sound make it remove more reason to speak than the ones that are just like, here's a game.
Yeah.
Happy now.
Most players who play these games a lot just turn the music off anyway. So that kind of presentational flair fades away for people who actually play the game a lot, I think.
I had to turn the music in Quake Champions back on because we were just sitting in silence.
Oh, the Quake music is so bad, though. It is so bad.
You turn it down to like 5 just so there's a little noise going on, so you're not just sitting in silence waiting hours for a match.
Your computer can play music. It's not in the game, right?
I was in that was when I was boot camp and I didn't have anything on my computer besides just games.
Fair enough.
I don't have Spotify like that. But Quake Champions is a good example of what happens to a matchmaking system when your game fails. There's no if there was a server list in Quake Champions, millions of problems would be solved. Not millions, but a large problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think one of the things about first off, I agree with you. Matchmaking sucks, but it's just a matter of numbers. It's actually not an interesting problem to me personally, because it's just a matter of how many people are playing the game, which informs how fast you get matches. But what I think about Quake that kind of turns me off when I think about it is the fact that really it's the part of the game that gets attention aren't the team modes like capture the flag. It's the duel modes. Duel is actually what the Quake community is all about. And dueling is something that I have a hard time caring about. I don't know how you feel.
I don't think I could ever actually do it because the wait times were so long.
But okay.
So I don't know.
Assuming that the wait times weren't a factor, I'm just saying.
In Quake, I would probably hate it because I would get destroyed. In TFC, there was a period where I did nothing but mulch DM, which is kind of the same thing. There's not a map to control. It's just
except that in Quake, there's like a ladder that you can progress through, and there's competitions and professionals. But in TFC,
we had that in TFC as
mulch was just something that you do to get your dick out and measure it with a bunch of your friends.
We had the OGL 1v1 mulch ladder for a while.
Really? I don't remember
Dr. Trouble was #1 for a very long time, and then CWO Aligar was #1 for a very long time.
I remember Aligar being good.
DR was #1 for a very long time. And then, of course, that asshole Blink, I think he was #1 for a bit, too.
Blink with the capital K.
Yeah, he's a piece of trash as far as I can figure.
I don't remember anything about him other than being very fond of and defensive of VD, only to immediately leave for XD as soon as he got the chance.
Leave your own guild to join someone else's. No, he was just his ego was outrageous, and that's hard to deal with for me.
Yeah, there are a lot of big egos in that game. I kind of miss that. You can't really get away with having a big ego in games anymore, I feel like, because there's so much exposure of everything you do and say.
Right. Imagine Nam nowadays. Would that even be possible? Could he even be the asshole that he was in a game?
Probably not. Or probably he would do it in more subtle ways. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to. The more I think about those days, the less I think it's possible to actually make a proper comparison between them and what we have today, because so much has changed.
Right. Mercenary, always, anytime this came up in conversation, he would say that TFC would have failed immensely if we had stuff like Twitch back then, because, there were a bunch of players who would just shout racial obscenities constantly. Everything
Right.
was faggot, and then
But I mean,
the N word, all this
that's.
shit.
I
Just
mean, it's like locker room talk, right? I hate to use that expression, but if we had Twitch, that wouldn't happen. It's kind of a chicken and the egg.
yeah, probably. But even, yeah.
No, I think
But
I think people complain
that was
about
part of
with TFC if Twitch was around when it came out, is that you can't say anything because of all the fucking explosions. Makes it a bad
yeah.
spectator sport. Actually, I guess with the spectator mode, it's pretty tolerable, but first person would be a pain in the ass.
That was something about TFC actually that yawning as I talk. That I still think is the reason. I mean, the gameplay is great, but the gameplay led to us beating our enemies. I use the word enemies. Rivals. People like Nam, or just clans like the whatever incarnation of Blink's bullshit
Yeah.
clan of assholes was, or Ultima's clan of assholes was going on at the moment.
Yep.
Beating them, or All Stars, that's the biggest one. Beating them just felt great.
Yep.
And that was a big motivating factor to play the game.
Yeah.
Was to just put a bunch of assholes in their place.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I don't think really exists in the gaming world anymore, because I think that everything is grown up so much that you can't have those kinds of sandlot gaming experiences anymore, where it's just
Even
you and a bunch of other kids acting out,
Right. This Destiny 2 clan. What are they a clan for? What is the purpose of the clan?
When I joined, they did raids once or twice a week, although it seems to have fallen off. I honestly don't know. They're a clan because clans are a feature in the game, and so you have to join one. Because if you don't,
Right.
the rewards aren't as good.
Are there matches of any sorts? Is there a league ladder somewhere they can?
Nope. There's a competitive PvP, but you can solo queue into it. Like was a more organized PvP format, I think, in the past, but I think it's from Destiny 1, not Destiny 2, or very early days Destiny 2 in any case. But yeah, the reason for clans to exist is because you get more rewards when you're in a clan. That's it.
What are the rewards?
You
Just
get
shit in the game.
like there are things like there are certain clan bounties you get where if you do activities with a clanmate, you get extra rewards. Also, if your clan's past a certain level, you get certain incentives like I don't know, like more experience gain, an increased chance to get like a rare drop or like prime engram, I think is what it's called. It's all just
talk about any of that.
just looting stuff that I'm sure makes you roll your eyes.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with when all these games started coming out with all these different skins you get and everything. My friend was actually, well, he's not career-wise, but he went to school for game design. He's like all over all this shit where you can get this special costume, and I'm like, oh, that's great. How does it change the way the game plays? Oh, it doesn't at all? what the fuck do I care then? It doesn't matter. It just feels like everything in a game is created to get people to A, pay money, and B, extend the life of the game, so it was like they're putting in as many hours as they can, so that when the next one comes out, they'll say, "Oh, that's
Yeah, I'm thinking about making a video on Guild Wars 2 about this actually. What thing I want to talk about is the kind of game that gets created that incentivizes players to log in
oh,
to
my
buy
headset's
in-game
dying."
store items. Oh, hello.
My headset is dying. It will be dead in a minute.
Okay. Well, it's getting late anyway, so we should probably wrap it up. But I don't
If
mind.
I did that, I wouldn't have a kid.
uh, I don't mind cosmetic stuff at all. I think cosmetics are a good thing for games. Um, but but I do think that crap. What was the other side of that point? Don't remember. I'm sure it was a smart one.
I bet that's all you say is smart things.
All right,
I,
that's
it's the DLC. I'm mixed about it.
for
It's
what?
really dependent. Okay, so DLC in a game like Borderlands 2 does not bother me because Borderlands 2 is fucking huge. So I could play that game without the DLC and I would still spend at least 100 hours on it. Um, Smash Brothers on Wii U, since that's the only one I have, they made DLC characters after launch, but that's fine because that game comes with like 70 characters. So to me, that's a complete game where they're not robbing me of money later. So Bioshock Infinite, they released DLC, but it was 2 episodes that complete the story of the game. But Bioshock Infinite itself, I thought was a great experience that it doesn't bother me to pay extra for that. What does bother me is when it's clearly, this is apparently what EA does with everything, is you release a bare bones thing. This is what all iPhone games do. You release bare bones shit, and then just buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this. Oh, you'll have so much fun if you buy this. And that's what works on kids. Instead of just paying 50 or 60 for that base game, you've now spent $300 to collect a bunch of shit, and it's still only 25% of the game or something like that, which that's usually the free to play stuff. So as long as DLC is more of an afterthought, it doesn't ever bother me. But like $10 for a digital costume, get the fuck out. That's insane.
Okay. But what if it's a costume you wear for 500 hours in game? Is $10 still not worth it?
And that all comes down to you personally, I guess. For me, I will never find it.
Yeah. Right. Well, microtransactions are an enormous topic, man. Um, but if I were to say anything about it, what I would say is that I like to financially support the games that I play, and I find it generally to be enjoyable. I try not to make dumb purchases, but like back in the day when I was playing Guild Wars 2 for 20 hours, 30 hours a week, um, I dropped $25 on a really cool looking mount skin. $25. But this is a game that I had invested 3 years of my life and 2,000 hours for the cost of like $150 over that entire time span. Like
Right.
you look at the money you put into a hobby like that versus almost anything else, and the value proposition is just insane.
Right. That doesn't bother me that much because again, that's hours dollars spent, and so that's if you look at it in that way, that's one hell of a value. So it's like,
No, to my mind, the real issue with a situation like what I just described is that those kinds of rewards, the game has to be structured in a way to get you to log in so you can buy those rewards, and those rewards are only available for cash. So there's this whole cyclical thing going on with Guild Wars right now where there's essentially very little to do in the game to distinguish yourself that's not based on just straight cash money. It doesn't give you a competitive advantage, but it does make you look cool, which is really the only progression past the first few hundred hours in the game. Anyway, it's a big topic.
I had a thing I was going to say. It was this that's going to come right now, and it was about Quake Champions Battle Pass. Did you buy the Battle Pass? I know
Yes.
Matt did.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that, and what did it do?
I don't remember. I hardly ever played with it. It was a
I
wasteful purchase for me.
I couldn't understand what it was.
Well, the idea of a battle pass in general, not Quake specifically because I don't remember, but in general, the idea is that so think about it this way. You're going to play a game for 50 or 100 hours. You know you're going to do that, right? And you want to get a lot of cool rewards out of it. So one of the ways that a game can do that is by selling you the rewards piecemeal, ad hoc. You just buy them and you get them. But another way they can do it is by saying, we're going to make you play for 50 to 100 hours to get the stuff that you bought, which is what a battle pass is. It is essentially saying, we're going to sell you the ability to earn this by playing the game you can already play. So if you know you're going to play it, then yeah, it's like just buying stuff. But if it's something that you use to incentivize you to play, then suddenly it's pretty nefarious. That's my take on it.
So, yeah, what you're saying is, so the counterexample would be in Borderlands 2, when I buy DLC, I'm buying an entire location that I can go to that has new enemies, story, new music, new visuals, new everything.
Yeah,
but
that's
in
like
Quake Champions. Go ahead.
yeah, that's the content-based DLC where you're actually buying a piece of the game, a new area of the game to play, right?
When I buy the Battle Pass in Quake Champions, I am buying.
You're buying like a bunch of like badges. You're buying a bunch of weapon skins and character skins and shaders. But you have to actually play the game to get them.
Yeah, I'm buying the ability to achieve them.
Yeah, but it is something that if you're gonna play, you'll get it because it's not based on being good. It's based on playing the game, on hours invested.
What do any of those get me in terms of changing the game?
Well, it means you can customize your characters to have different looks.
To have the annoying particles that make it impossible to follow me.
Yeah, look in Quake. It's all cosmetics. That's the only thing that they sell, and that's the way you want a game like that. Because if they start selling things like, 50% faster, like 10% extra damage on quad damage, you don't want that shit to be in the store because it destroys the competitive balance. So they sell cosmetics, which, while it may be frustrating, it is about what they can do. And also, for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure in Quake, it's possible in competitive modes to turn off those models and just see like whatever model you pick. Like if you watch Lat play, every opponent he plays looks completely identical.
So that's the thing about Quake Champion outfits and stuff, though, is I feel like it hurts the game in two ways. One, that floaty particle shit I'm talking about, and two, all of that downtime between matches exists because that's the only fucking time you see your character. So that's the screen, that and the menu screen are the only two times they can make it worthwhile for you to see what you have spent your money on. Well, and that's why they're there, and that's why they're not going to.
Yeah.
So you're going to be stuck with that terrible 20-minute long period between games.
Sure. I mean, being able to change that shit around while you're waiting Which, by the way, I mean the whole wait time. No one likes a wait time, at least especially the devs who are trying to get you to like the game. So, I mean, I would be astonished if they were slowing anything down just so you could look at your character model. But one thing to keep in mind too, and I would say if there were a counter argument to what you're putting forth, it would be this, which is a lot of those things exist so you can show off. It's not about you seeing it; it's about your opponents seeing it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's
And
just an element that I don't care about personally, so it's hard for me to get it.
right. So think about it. Think about it this way. Like, so I played old school World of Warcraft, right? And in old school WoW, there are a bunch of getting good gear, like raid gear, made you a fucking boss in PvP. It was disgusting. People who didn't raid couldn't compete against you for a long time before they started adding more PvP specific stuff. And
Yeah, but
a lot of
that's
the time, that gear looked like dog shit. It looked like puke on cardboard, but it was really effective. So what ended up happening is those puke on cardboard items, as silly as they are, may become status symbols in a game like that, where you see someone with that and you run towards them because they're your friend, or you run away from them because they're your enemy. So if
so it communicated your abilities as well.
right, so if there's something behind that appearance, some meaning behind that appearance, like say you only get this cosmetic if you finish top 50 in the US on the competitive ladder, then showing that off is awesome. It feels great, even if it looks stupid sometimes. But if it's just linked to a cash shop transaction, then you're right. It's all bullshit and personal and gratification.
Yeah. Well, and also a big difference between WoW and Quake is in WoW you're seeing your model the entire time.
I think that's
Quake,
less of a big deal, honestly. I think that showing off is super important.
I'm just saying from my perspective. So that's the
Well,
same thing in
you're the
Borderlands.
artiste. You're the artiste. I'm less of an artist, more of a socializer. That's just me.
It has less to do with art. It's more about all video games are at the bare minimum. The bare. How's a good way to phrase this without sounding pretentious? Basically, all video games are a waste of money because they're just purely entertainment. They're in no way needed in life.
I completely
Oh,
disagree, but I totally
well,
I'm not surprised to hear you say that.
well, do you get what I'm saying though? It's like uh, I edit videos for a living.
What you're saying is that
If
they produce nothing of value to you.
not necessarily that. I mean, the value is I have a good experience. I have a meaningful conversation with someone or something like that. But my point is, if they were to suddenly stop existing, my world would not change. They're not anything essential for me to live.
You know, I actually went through this experience. When I moved in with Brianna back in 2011, I sold my gaming PC. I bought a shitty laptop, moved to a studio apartment in Switzerland, and not only that, but at that time, Brianna hadn't sipped the Kool-Aid. She thought that video games were not just a lack of good, but actively bad for people. And you know, at that time, I'd had issues with being addicted to World of Warcraft, and I had all this stuff and struggle. So I just tried to avoid games for a long time. But you know what I found is that when I took video games out of my life, I would seek those same kinds of releases elsewhere. I still sought games. I still sought the kind of social gaming connections. Um, I would just get them in different ways. Like I would play cards or I would play board games, which is all the same stuff I still do today. It's something in me that needs to come out, and
Right.
that's
I'm not saying I want video games to go away or I'm not going to buy them. I don't know how exactly to put it. I'm just saying it's like what I do for a living is edit video. If we have some sort of apocalyptic event where there's no more power, what do? I'm not needed. My
well,
skills won't have a terribly large purpose.
in a direct sense, but you develop a lot of other skills by doing that job that are not related to editing timelines on a computer program. Am I right?
Sort of. I mean, I learn about whatever content that would be something. But I'm trying to remember what the hell my point was with this because I got so
Sorry.
distracted trying to think of how to phrase it.
I've also derailed you a bit. We
I was
should
gonna go
do.
somewhere with all the costumes in Borderlands 2, and how spending money on them. I never did it because spending money on them felt pointless to me. Because as the purchaser, which just goes back to what you said about WoW, as the purchaser, the only time I would see that is when I'm in the inventory screen.
Yeah. Also,
So
in a game like Borderlands, you don't see people as much, so it's a lot harder of a value proposition all around for a game like that, I imagine.
yeah,
You don't
WoW,
see it,
you're on a
others don't see
server
it.
where there's 1,000 other people who can see you at any time.
Right.
Whereas Borderlands 2, I am only with my friends, and I don't give the slightest shit what their character looks like,
Yeah.
or mine.
Unless you're in a position where you feel like you're getting more than your money's worth out of the game and you want to put money back into it to support it, and that's a way for you to do it. That's a position I've been in a lot of
Right.
times because, I'll put 500, 1,000 hours into a game. Like PlanetSide is an example of that. Anytime that I re-engage with PlanetSide, I will drop some money on it and something that interests me because I've gotten so much out of it that dropping 15, 20 bucks on it still doesn't even put a dent in that value proposition. And it gives me something that I like. Like last time you played, I got the Arnold Schwarzenegger voice. I thought that was really cool.
Yes, that was entertaining. That's what
Yeah.
I like about TFC though, is that's the best dollar at a time value I'm ever gonna have in my life. That was probably 3,000 hours at least of my
Yeah.
life
Well, you can't
for
top that.
$50, $50, and that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
Even beyond that, that doesn't include any time I spent on other mods like Half-Life. The game itself is one of my favorite games ever made.
Yeah.
Counter-Strike, I spent a
Sven
lot of time
co-op.
in. After Sven Co-op's amazing. Counter-Strike was my game after TF 1.5 came out because I felt like it broke everything for a bit.
Really? I didn't know you played CS.
It was okay. It wasn't the big greatest or anything like that. But then there was another mod. Firearms got a very brief period of play.
Action
That's
Half-Life.
another thing. Action Half-Life. Just going up on that level where there's a huge tall building and diving out the window into the pool. That's just fun. That's another thing that doesn't exist anymore with games. There's no community content. There's no mods. There's no maps.
Skyrim, man.
There's no multiplayer in Skyrim, is there? Or is there a
No,
multiplayer
no.
mode?
No, there is, but it's super janky and it doesn't really work.
I don't want to buy Skyrim because I don't want. I mean, I got Breath of the Wild that sucked my life away recently. I don't want to do it again.
I don't
So I
blame
will
you.
limit the games that are just my life away.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you have an interest in Skyrim at this point, just get it on a simple platform. You can get it for Switch, I think. Shit.
That's where
But
I would rather get it on a Steam sale where it drops to $5. Switch will still be $60, $40.
yeah,
Too much.
probably right
And then
about
that's the first-person shooter on a console. Fuck everything about that.
that. I don't know. I would say at this point, Skyrim is more useful for the cultural context than anything else, because pretty much everything that it did well, other games are doing now. Well, almost everything. Mods, no one else has figured out, and the kind of sandbox nature of the world, no one else has really done either.
Uh, Grand Theft Auto 5 has mods and sandbox.
Yeah,
Grand Theft Auto 5 still is absolutely raking in money. They did it.
yeah, that game
Right.
prints money apparently. I don't know a lot about it, but that's what I heard.
Well, it's got. I didn't play
I
it
gotta interrupt
online
you for a
much
second, man,
because
because if we're gonna continue this conversation, I absolutely have to take a leak. It's an emergency
I'm
at
gonna
this point.
I'm gonna say this one thing and then go to bed. I guess
Okay.
it's very fun to play online, but it is killed by 18 bajillion loading points and loading times that take forever. It really kills the momentum, and dealing with it sucks.
Sure. Sounds like an engine problem. GTA 6 will have it fixed, I'm sure.
7 years from now,
Oh, you better believe it's getting worked on, though.
GTA 5 is a really gorgeous game, though. That was the first game where I stopped at a fake sunset.
Everything I've seen about GTA 5 looked pretty good, but the basic conceit of the game doesn't interest me much.
I think the PS3 version was whatever, but then they remastered it for PC and PlayStation 4, and it is really damn good looking. And then there's mods that take it even further. But you go enjoy your piss.
Okay.
talk to you tomorrow at some point.
Okay, buddy. Have a good
All
night.
right.
Try
You
to get
too.
through the night. Try not to let your kid, shit on his finger and stick it up your nose or anything.
What he does is he comes out of his.
Comes out of his what? I lost you.
He gets between my wife and I in the middle in bed.
Oh, that's cute.
Is it?
I used to do it to my parents when I was a kid.
Well, he has another problem where his feet are tan.
He what?
Feet is fine.
Feet?
He uses his feet like hand.
So he
Like he's
picks stuff
a
up with his
monkey
feet?
kid. He's not pick it up. Well, actually, yeah, he tries to do that. He just does everything.
I think that your headset might be dying. You're breaking up on me.
All right.
Probably
Feels
time to
everything.
call it a night.
Good night.
Night, Taylor. Take it easy, man. And good night, Twitch. This ended up going a lot longer than I thought, but maybe I'll do someone some good. All right.